Meltdown, and you know this guy who's joined me, James. I'm very pleased to welcome you to Headbangers Ball, because last time in Birmingham you weren't very well, so I'm very glad to see you well today. How are you doing?
Yeah, better mood.
Good. Now, there were rumours that Metallica might headline Donington, although we heard that there wasn't a Donington this year after all. What are the pros and cons of headlining your own show rather than doing a big sort of famous festival like that?
Well, it's good to see that people are coming to the show because it's Metallica, not just because it's a Donington thing, which is an event in itself, you know. But it's good to see a lot of crazy people here to see, you know, the good music that's going on today.
Well, it's a great lineup. Everybody agrees that. When you were in the big arenas, you had the Metallica film. Now, do you think that these opening bands, the Almighty, we can hear behind us, do you think that they're an important part of the outdoor vibe?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
The film wouldn't really work outside, would it?
Well, I mean, everyone's seen the film, and I've seen it, and it's, you know, we know what we look like, and everyone else does too now. So it's good to have some bands up there rocking and getting people happening out there.
Well, it's very good of you to allow bands to use the whole stage and everything. I think some of them are a bit...
What, they are?
No snake fit today, though.
No, that's our thing.
That's your thing, right. Now the Metallica album obviously allowed you to get a lot of things off your chest, but your life has changed so much over the last 2 years. I was wondering, do those subjects and experiences seem to you like they're from like another era of your life?
Like 2 years ago or something, yeah. Well, all the lyrics on every album, like when you go back and listen to them or read them again, there's like a whole new meaning to the things. It might be something completely different, but yeah, I mean, I feel like there's something missing inside me now because I need to kind of create new stuff again, which we will probably be doing soon when we get back. So,
I mean, are these new songs from the Metallica album, are they still really fresh to play live 2 years down the line?
Yeah, definitely. I'll actually listen to the thing too. I'll put the record on.
And also, I guess playing live, they're a little bit shorter and maybe a bit simpler. Does that help as well?
Well, that definitely works better. I mean, it makes the set list look more impressive, you know. Wow, 20 songs now.
All right, well, July the 4th is the big day, the final Metallica show on this tour.
15 to go. I'm not counting, though.
So are you looking forward to the final one, or are you hanging in there?
Everyone's in a great mood. I mean, everyone can see the end. And so everyone is really hepped up. I mean, everyone, crew, band, the whole thing.
So you're going to have a big party on the final night?
You don't know us very well. Yes, of course.
But how are you going to switch off from all this Metallica activity? What are you going to do in your free time?
I don't know. It's going to be a bit scary, you know. Wait for the wake-up sheet to come under the door, you know. What do I do today?
You'll be waiting a long time.
Yeah. I don't know. It'll take at least a month to kind of wind down and figure out that you're really at home.
Do you feel like you've got roots at home?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
You go back to that and like totally switch off and then come back?
Yeah, that's what I try to do. You go home and hang out with your friends and you know, shut Metallica off. But I mean, it takes at least a week or two to wind down from the damn thing, and then, you know, we've only been home like 2 weeks at a time, so there's no real time to kind of really relax, you know.
I do understand. So you were talking there about winding down for this break you've got coming up, but really right now you're winding up for tonight.
Oh yeah.
So, how are you feeling about tonight?
Oh, very good. I mean, everyone, like I was saying, is in a great mood, and you know, I think we got some pretty rocking bands going on here.
But it's great to see you in a good mood. Thank you very much.
All right.
I'd rather like the lovely weather here at Milton Keynes. And now I'm very pleased to welcome Lars back to Headbangers Ball. How are you doing, Lars?
I'm very sunny too. No, we're all in a really good mood. When I woke up this morning, I was like, yay, it's finally here. Let's do it. Let's get on with it. And we came down here. We saw Diamond Head, watched a little bit of these guys Almighty, which I'm sure you've heard of, and I'm in a really good mood, which is scary.
Good, good. Let's talk a little bit about the Metallica live show, because you're winding up the end of 2 years on the road. How do you feel that the band on the live show has progressed and developed over those 2 years?
Steadily worse. No, it's pretty much gone up most of the way. We're playing a lot better than we obviously were 2 years ago. We know what we're doing a lot more. We had a little bit of a period in like maybe February, March into early April where we were in a little bit of a lull, but we're now, since we started this European leg 3 weeks ago, we're playing probably the best we have in the last 2 years. We threw a couple of new songs in there,
Brilliant.
moved the set around a little bit and so on. So right now I feel better than I have the last 2 years.
Brilliant. I'm sure you're winding up for July the 4th as well, the final date on the tour.
July 4th is now 4 weeks, 6 minutes,
15
12
shows.
seconds. Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit. Have you had to compromise the staging and production in any way to accommodate these support bands today?
No, not really. I mean, the whole thing that we've been doing here for the last 3 weeks has been 2 or 3 support acts in every place, and we have some of the better things from the indoor gig, like the Snake Pit, and James has 46 microphones and all that stuff. So it's it doesn't really. We have some very good production people that move things around, and drums kits get shoved up where they're supposed to go, and it's all very smooth. And it's so we have our full production thing that we had with when we were co-headlining last summer with Guns, and we've added a couple things to it, but it's working really well.
But the Snake Pit's only open for business with Metallica, right?
That's yes. I'm sorry. That's
No, I think some of the bands are a little worried about all the ramps and the walkways and going out the front there.
Well, I can understand somebody who's never been on that stage before. It's like, what, this big gaping hole in the middle of the stage? Just we should put like a security net down there. But we've had the Cult and Suicidal with us in over Europe the last 3 weeks, and nobody's fallen in, nobody's gotten hurt, and it's working really well. So I'm happy.
Good, that's great. Will this show be particularly special for you, bearing in mind that Diamond Head are on the bill, and you've long been a great fan of the band and always spoken up for them? So
flying the flag, yeah, it's great. I mean, the fact that these two guys are standing over here clowning around, and I just saw them play for about 25 minutes was amazing. Also, I should say that last week when we played in Copenhagen, we had Merciful Fate, which was the other band. Yeah. The 3 bands that really influenced early Metallica was Diamond Head, Merciful Fate, and Motorhead. So the fact that we played with all those bands now in the last few months, we had Motorhead with us on the Guns tour last summer. But seeing Merciful Fate last week open for us, Diamond Head today, I feel like I'm 12 years old, like a little punter running around going, yay!
Oh, brilliant.
It's great. It's really good. And it's a great day today, and it's just couldn't ask for a better setup.
Good. Well, there is some things we've got to talk about, very important things. Forthcoming live video and, forthcoming live album and home video. Tell us a little bit about those.
Let's see, where do we start? I think the best way to is some of you guys out there might be familiar with, a couple years ago, Queensryche did like this little package, kind of a box thing that had some videos and CDs or cassettes, whatever configuration that you bought. That's the idea we're going with. We're not trying to do a single album, a double album, a single video, a double video, and another CD with a different cover and 3 other songs. It's like one package. If you want this thing, you have one option. You buy the whole thing. It's going to have about two. I'm seeing all these people everywhere, and I'm sitting here waving to everybody. It's going to have a whole show on video from San Diego early in the tour, and about half hour of stuff from the Justice tour from Seattle in '89, of all the songs that we didn't play and so on this tour. And it's got a whole show on CDs and cassettes or whatever configuration that you buy from Mexico City later in the tour, and you can see it's 2 different set lists. It's 2 different, we're playing a lot better obviously as the tour moves on and so on. It's going to be, have the usual 712 live photos and all that kind of stuff. So it's going to be the definitive live Metallica pack. It's not going to be so much for all the people that just know Metallica from, Enter Sandman or whatever, but it's going to be for the fans that have been with us for the last 12 years and so on. I think for them it's going to be something that they really get off on.
Milton Keynes, there's a great atmosphere back here actually. And Lars, we were just talking in the last segment about the forthcoming live album and accompanying home video, and you being such a knowledgeable rock fan, I'm sure you'll agree that a lot of live albums have been a pivotal point in some bands' career, like Kiss, Alive, and Deep Purple, Made in Japan. Do you see that with Metallica, or is it like closing one chapter, ready to start a new one?
I wish I could be that philosophical about it. It's just like, we've got all this stuff lying around in all our storage facilities. It's time to clean. No, I mean, on a more serious note, it's going to be a long time until the next Metallica record comes around, and I think that we just feel that it's a good time right now to just push some of this out. More people to wave to. Hi, Mick. How are you?
That's Mick.
That's Mick. Anyway, what was I talking about? Sorry.
You think it's important to clean out all your backlog kind of thing?
We just, we have so much footage lying around. We have all these shows from the Justice to all this stuff from the last couple of years. I just think that now is a good time. We really want to take a couple of years away from the spotlight. We really want to just be low-key, we want, and so on. It just seems right now is a perfect time to just release this kind of thing. Like I said to you in the last segment, it's not something for, it's not like something we think is going to sell as many as the last. It's just
for the dedicated
for the fans who've been there, and it's like our thing to them, and blah, blah, blah. And I don't think that necessarily maybe live albums mean as much as they used to. If you think back to the 70s, like you were talking about, your Made in Japans and so on. Now with the advent of videos and what kind of role that plays in it, it's just live albums per se, a live album just by itself. Nobody really does that anymore. It's always a live album and a video, and everybody always pays more attention to the video and so on. So I think we're trying to combine the best of both worlds and stuff like that by giving everybody different shows and so on. And hey, we're just doing ours. Hey, like I said, we're cleaning the attic out.
Now, you have been on the road for 2 years, which is a tremendous amount of time by anybody's standards. I mean, how have you managed to kind of keep your feet on the ground? Do you think that it seems to me that you've maybe got a little bit of a cynical sense of humor. Do you think that's helped?
Yeah. That's the best thing that I finally realize now why we are so cynical and why we have this very silly sense of humor. It's actually very British, as you can probably relate to, but I think it's to keep all the kind of seriousness a little bit at a distance. If you let all this get to you and sit down and, one of the biggest bands in the world and 300 concerts and MTV and big stadium shows and all that, it can get a bit much. So we try and approach it all with a really, really loose attitude and, as you're saying, very sarcastic and very cynical. And I think at the end of the day, it helps us get through. I think it also pisses a lot of people off that don't quite understand our sense of humor and so on. But at the end of the day, it's what works best for us, and it's the reason that we can be out here and do this. And for any band to go out and play 310 gigs on a tour, there have to be something wrong with them. And the fact...
Well, your way of keeping sane, really.
No, I don't know, without giving you all these corny stories about, the road is really home to us and all this crap everybody else tells you. I'm very happy that we're in a position where we have an album that's big enough to allow us to go out and play 310 gigs and to do 25 Milton Keynes across Europe and so on and so forth. And that's a situation that doesn't present itself to you all that often. So we're basically doing it here while anybody cares, because when we come back in 3 years with another album, who knows? It's so unpredictable these days. Maybe everybody will just say, yeah, Metallica, next.
Not.
Well.
Anyway, very quickly, I know lots of fans want to know what is happening with your fan club. So many people are writing into us for an address. What's happening?
I thought I could get out of this clean. The fan club, well, what happened was on the last couple of records, there were some addresses printed that were some people that were appointed by the merchandising company to run these things that weren't doing good enough job, so we basically pulled it. We're in the process right now of trying to set up a fan club with people that we trust. Obviously we get zillions of letters and it's very difficult to keep up with all of it, but we are in the process of trying to, when the tour's over, to sit down and deal with this issue. And like I said, we have somebody who we trust very much, who we're talking to right now about basically overseeing it and setting it up when the tour's over. So that's the latest I can give you now.
Okay,
so,
and you'll keep us posted on that, I hope. Okay,
absolutely.
Now, as we said, July the 4th is the last day at the Torhout Werchter Festival. And then how on earth are you, of all people, going to put all this Metallica behind you and go back to living a normal life for a little while?
I like the way you say that. Me of all people, right?
Because it is your life, isn't it, Lars?
I have no life and I have nothing else. No, in all seriousness, I think it's going to be okay. I think the last few months, I've started to feel the way any other normal human being would under these circumstances, which is pretty burned out. And the only thing that's really keeping us going is the fact that we get up on stage 3 or 4 times a week and play some really good shows. I think it's going to be okay. I mean, people that know me, like you're just saying, people, it's like, I'm going to take a year off. People start laughing in my face. It's like, oh, excuse me. But like I said, I'm in a really solid situation now at home, both relationship-wise and blah, blah, blah. And I feel ready to undertake this whole thing. I really feel that for the first time in my life that I can let Metallica go to the point of getting totally away from it for up to a year. But maybe we'll come back in 3 months and give you some new exclusive on some, Metallica are playing 3 nights on the moon, so I mean, I don't know what's going to happen. That's what I kind of caution everybody. It's like, remember, this is Metallica you're talking to, and it's like there are no rules other than Metallica rules, and whatever's going to happen, and whatever, if we take 6 months off, 9 months off, a year, if we take a year and a half, it's like, whatever, we're in a position now where we have nobody telling us what to do, which is obviously a great situation to be in. So I feel really good about the next year or so. It's going to be nice to just have some time to yourself.
So have you been able to write anything on the road, or are you going to just leave it for a year or however long it feels right for and then get back to it?
Zero. That's what I was doing. Zero. Nothing. We're one of these bands that don't subscribe to the theory of sound checks. We've probably done, I'd say, 5 or 10 sound checks on this tour, and which means that we don't really jam all that much. We sometimes sit in the tuning room, a little riff comes up here and there, but generally we don't really bother that much with all that. So when we've taken some time off, we're going to sit down and shift through all the stuff again and come up with 10 or 12 new songs.
Your thoughts about tonight, Lars? There's a gig a little bit later.
Oh, I thought I was just here punting around. It's going to be great. I mean, what can I say? Look at this day. It's been a great 3 or 4 hours so far. Like I said, I'm in a great mood. James is in a great mood. This is all very scary. So it's going to be good. It's going to be real good. There's 60,000 people out there. The fact that we can come back to England and play to 60,000 people in one go is incredible. So it's going to be good. I feel real good about it.
All right then, well, thanks very much, Lars, for taking time to talk to us. It's great to see everybody in the Metallica camp in such a great mood to go with the weather.
I want to ask her something, okay? So what do you think of the Almighty?
Oh, no, don't do that.
Oh, didn't you see him? They just played for 45 minutes. What have you been doing all this time?
I was interviewing Metallica.
You don't have anything better to do with your time than that?
I can't answer.
Anyway, we're signing off now from Milton Keynes. We're going to what's the next segment?
Well, actually, we've reached the end of the show.
Oh, we reached the end of the show. So
Yeah,
it's time
would you like to say goodbye?
Would I like to say goodbye?
Yeah.
You should go in and ask your husband how he's doing.
I would like to.
I'll sit here and talk to these guys, and
All right.
I'll close off.
Can I just tell you what's happening next week? We're in the studio, back in the studio. Hope you've enjoyed the show. I'll leave you with Lars to say good night. I'll see you next week.
Okay, see ya. Obviously, it's timed itself out quite nicely. We've had some few listening parties. We had a listening party at Madison Square Garden a couple of weeks ago. We had one Hammersmith and Manchester Apollo, I guess, last week. And all in all, it's the lead up to this whole thing has been quite nice. But like I said, it's just down to our own inefficiencies in the studio. I thought we'd finish the record, take 3 months off, go on a promotion tour, then come over and do these gigs, and it's like we literally only finished the record about 3.5 weeks ago still. I mean, Eno Sandman, we had to mix right away so it could come out as a single. We finished the record, I think it was July maybe 14th or something like that. So it's still just over 3.5, 4 weeks. And so they've really turned it around quick. But the last couple of months, it seemed like a total blur, like I said, I was really looking forward to taking a couple months off, but I guess I'll do that when I get old.
I get the impression that the songwriting team of you and James Hetfield is kind of like a very intense relationship. Do you think that contributes directly to the intensity of the songs?
Wow. That's an interesting question. I've never really analyzed our songwriting relationship that thoroughly. It just seems to work better for us that way. A lot of times we try almost on every record to get the 4 of us in a room, and we'll sit there, and then we'll play some Chili Peppers, and then we'll play some Diamond Head, and then we'll have a few beers, and then that was that day, and then we'll try again the next day. And it's like, after a couple of weeks of this, it's like, we're not getting anywhere. And usually when, okay. when me and James get into it, it's two of us, we just seem to get our heads down and sort of get on with it a lot better than when we try otherwise. We've made 5 records that way. Obviously, it's kind of working. And so why, fix it if it's not broken?
Absolutely. Now, I'm sorry to have to bring up the subject of the LP cover, but I thought I'd try and do it from a different angle. And the LP cover says to me a lot without actually saying anything at all. Was it generally your intention to strip away the usual rock and roll cliches and just present like 12 new songs without giving people any preconceived ideas or clever titles or da-la-la?
Well, actually I just heard a good one a couple hours ago, so this is fresh in my mind. Mm-hmm. The real reason the album cover is black is because most people come up and ask us to sign the album covers with black pens. This way we don't have to do it. I heard that from somebody a couple hours ago. I think that's the best one I've heard so far. Well, I think you just basically said it yourself there. We just wanted to get away from all the monsters and the mascots and all the skulls and all that crap. And, the whole decision on the album cover was like, let's have a black album cover. Okay, it took like 10 seconds, and I find myself sitting now in interviews months after this decision and like analyzing it and coming up with reasons why. When I think back to that day up in my kitchen when I suggested to James, let's just have a black album cover, not have all this crap like all these other bands. The whole thing was like a done deal in 10 seconds. Subject to the lyrical things the last couple times come from, you sit in your hotel and you watch CNN, you're reading the paper and go, oh, here's another turmoil situation that you can write a song about. I think this time around we got a little tired of that and felt that some of the subjects that we'd come up with, James could take and kind of personalize a little more. That stuff that was sort of lingering in him could come out. I think a few things that had gone on in his life, I think he finally felt ready to talk about in the songs and finally let some of that stuff out of him. He's pretty shy of nature, and I think he felt that the best way of letting some of that stuff go was through songs. What everybody else is doing, it's more of a challenge. It's just funner that way. I think, especially in America, it's getting a little too one-sided. We also have like other sides to us, and we can be the bad boys of rock and roll just as much as other bands that walk around and sort of advertise that all the time. But sometimes I just get sick of oh, they're so uncliche and so aware, and all this kind of gets a little annoying after a while. But I guess we just kind of like to just avoid the obvious a lot of times.
Mm-hmm. And finally, I believe that you were somewhat reluctant to make the video for one. But you've got Enter Sandman out. Has your attitude towards video changed, or is it just that you're kind of more confident with that medium?
Absolutely. As far as video goes, it was something that we shied away from for eight years, and now I ask myself why. But we had this stubbornness and this kind of attitude towards a lot of those things, and we just didn't want to get involved. So I'm not questioning it that thoroughly, but it's something that is a lot of fun for me to deal with now, and I think it's another way of getting creative things out of you. If you treat videos with the same control as we do with our own records, there's no reason that it just shouldn't be another great way of getting creative things out of you. And I certainly look forward to making a couple more videos on this record. As a matter of fact, we were just sitting talking about the second video from this record. And so, there'll be a few more, and we're definitely not as afraid of that medium as we used to be.
21. Kirk Hammett. I play lead guitar, and I am 54.
I'm Ian Pace. I play drums, and I'm 22 years old.
When did you start playing together?
When we started.
October, November 1981. Formed the band Metallica and had a few other guys on guitar and bass for about a year and a half. Cliff joined in the spring of '83, and Kirk joined a couple of months later, April '83.
Okay. how did you begin to play that music so fast called thrash metal? I don't know who gave this.
Well, we used to listen to a lot of Motorhead, and we thought that was very fast, you know. And I think it just got a bit out of hand at practices, drinking a bit, and just when we were down in LA playing in front of these crowds that were just really dead and very posing, and so we just get faster and faster just to annoy them, kind of. And that's how it happened.
Okay, thank you. Are you conscious that you've got a big influence over most of the new bands today? I mean, every band is doing Metallica. So.
It's like every band is just starting to play fast now, just for the sake of playing fast. That's kind of a compliment, you know. But it's getting a bit tedious.
There's more to it than just playing fast.
Definitely.
A bit more to it.
Are you as appreciated or known in America as in Europe? Where are you most popular in Europe?
To it in Harvester of Sorrow, which is like the third track in, we stop about 30 seconds in it, and James does this thing where he gets the kids kind of going. Well, either I thought it was a lot shorter tonight, or James did a lot shorter, one of the two, you figure it out. But I was like standing up when James did the cue, and I had to hit the snare drum while I was standing up leaning over the drum kit to make the cue, and I just bashed my hand right into the snare drum, between the stick and the snare drum, like pure Spinal Tap vibe. And just the blood was like just gushing out. I mean, I've hit myself a couple times over the last couple of years, and there's been, you know, cuts and bruises. But I mean, this is still bleeding. I can feel it bleeding inside there now. And just like the cymbals, the whole snare skin, like everything was just gushing, like for the whole rest of the gig.
September 26, 1986, tragedy struck.
I couldn't sleep on the bus in this top bunk. It was too drafty. My throat, you know, was getting screwed up. So I'd always go sleep in the back lounge.
We couldn't get it all together. We were arguing with each other and saying, well, you know, I want your bunk, well, I want your bunk, blah, blah, blah. I've never told anyone this, by the way. But our manager said, well, why don't we just draw cards? We said, sure. So we shuffled the cards, said highest card gets first choice of bunks. So, you know, I reach for a card and I pick 2 of hearts. Cliff reaches for a card, he gets ace of spades. You know, James gets a card, Lars gets a card. So Cliff has first choice of bunks. So he says, I want your bunk, Kirk. I go, fine, you know. So he gets my bunk. I end up with a bunk in the front of the bus, which was like not as good. And that night the accident happened, and it was a horrible thing because, you know, Cliff was in my former bunk. What happened that night was that the driver supposedly hit a patch of ice and the bus skidded. It shattered the windows and Cliff got thrown out of the bus and the bus landed on top of him. And when it actually happened, I got thrown out of my bunk and knocked unconscious for like 3 or 4 seconds. And when I came to, I heard everyone screaming, but I didn't hear Cliff. And I instantly knew something was wrong because I didn't hear him. And I got out of the top of the bus because there's an emergency hatch at the top, very top of the bus. And I turned around and there was Cliff. And I just said, oh my God. And I walked away and I was in absolute shock. And I was delirious. I was in shock. I was hysterical. Everyone was screaming and crying.
It was too unreal to just deal with. It was like, you know, this doctor came into the room that I was in the hospital and told me that our bass player had died.
Just I remember our tour manager at the time, Bobby Schneider, said, you know, after everyone was kind of taken care of there, he said, you know, let's get the band and go to the hotel. And he said, you know, when he said band, it was like, it's not really a band right now. and we couldn't really grasp it for a while.
We had to sit down and actually face this. You know, what were we going to do? We realized that the last thing that Cliff would obviously want us to do, and we couldn't stop now. There was, you know, Metallica had always been about going against whatever would come our way and just sort of carrying on.
We weren't really looking for a Cliff Part 2. You know, someone who could like solo a lot and someone who was really eccentric like he was in his own way.
They'd come in with their bass and they'd plug in and start fiddling around, and you knew right away. It's like, ugh. We had the little signal, you know, that we'd, you know, it was like, see ya. You know, you could tell if, you know, he started going, bap, 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 you know, doing this funky stuff. It's like, wait a minute, you know, next.
One day, this kid named Jason Newsted just walked in, and it was pretty obvious that there was something about him that was pretty different.
It wasn't just about playing bass. There's so much more to it, and those guys knew it, and I knew it.
Deciding immediately that the band had to go on, the surviving members of Metallica set their sights on a new bassist, Jason Newsted, from a band called Flotsam and Jetsam. They chose their local hangout, Tommy's Joint, to tell him the good news.
But I guess that was part of the test, too, is to see if I could kind of hang and have, you know, beers and keep myself together.
So me, James, and Kirk kind of ended up meeting in the bathroom up here, and we were standing there relieving ourselves and basically looked at each other and said, "Is that the guy?" And we just kind of all just, you know, nodded and said, "Yeah, that's him." We came back, sat down around this very table.
Lars said, "So do you want a job?" When I said, "Yeah," and I just got a little nutty and started screaming a little bit, you know.
I just basically looked at him and I said, "Hey man, want a job?" And this is what he did. Scared everybody out of the establishment.
and then we thought twice about this.
I knew there was going to be tests, and I knew that people were going to be messing with me here, messing with me there, trying to figure out if I was going to be the right guy for the job. And that's certainly what happened. And it came from all ends, you know. It came from crew guys and friends and family and whatever.
Mini epics and that whole progressive side, just about as far as it could go.
Concentrated more on just one riff through the whole song, which was just as, you know, just as challenging instead of trying to jam 100 riffs into one song.
The first song that we wrote was Enter Sandman, and it was like that really set the kind of tone and the chorus for the new album, because it did prove to us that for the first time we could actually write a short song, a simple song.
Even the packaging of the album is a bit more simplistic. It's none more black.
Yeah. Here it is, guys. None more black.
You saw it here first, huh?
None more.
Exciting, huh?
I think we've reached a different level now with this record, definitely. It just shows that Metallica has more to offer than just going fast all the time and, you know, 240 beats every song and just blasting your brains out.
I've really wanted to come in as a drummer and try and really lay back and get some kind of a groove thing happening.
Usual new album at a special listening party for fans at New York's Madison Square Garden. The record went straight to #1 in this country and topped the charts in 14 others as well. It also got the band invited back to the annual Grammy Awards show, and this time they didn't go home empty-handed.
And MTV, without whom all this was possible anyway. Whoa! Just kidding, guys, just kidding.
People are opening their eyes. They were afraid, I think, before, and now they have to deal with it.
Say hello to Hampton, will you?
I will, absolutely. Hey, Hampton, how you feeling today? Okay? GA, man. GA, you know what that means, don't you?
Yeah.
Go away from
We'll be out very soon, so ready to kick some ass here. We'll be out in
3, 4. Once the lights go down and the intro music starts, there's no kind of really reality. It's all just.
It's my life, and I could not ever picture doing this with anybody else or another band name. And I think that the day Metallica sits down and says, okay, you know, no more, let's give this a respectful ending, I'm just going to do something else.
I mean, it changed everything in my life, of course, you know. It was like, it was a dream for me to be able to even get into this band. So, I mean, it means everything. It means everything.
It means a lot to me to know that I haven't sold my soul to do it either. You know, I've stuck to what I've believed in, as well as, you know, the other three guys, and we've done it in a very honest way.
There's no doubt that we've grown up as a family in the band, and learned a lot of things from each other and together. And there's no way I would change it for anything.
Whole thing. So why should we start now?
Well, the new Metallica album Load features 40 new songs and clocks in at an amazing 79 minutes, released on one CD, making it the longest recording ever to be released on a single CD. Anyways, Kirk Hammett and Lars Ulrich were in London earlier this week for a series of launch parties, and they gave us a more up-to-date perspective on what we can expect when we crank up Load.
This, in terms of basic song ideas, is the most we've ever used Kirk's basic song ideas in taking riffs and turning them into songs. And I think when you hear the record, you will instantly hear that it's a lot more blues-based. The riffs are a lot greasier.
Yeah, I listened to a lot of blues in those 5 years in between albums, and I mean, as a result of that, I started writing heavy blues riffs, and these guys picked up on it.
Yeah, a lot. I mean, the strongest ideas were those, fitting in with the kind of desire to be looser and greasier and a little more, kind of have a little more attitude in the kind of the sound of the record and stuff like that. It just seemed to point that way. There certainly were a lot of the kind of old style, you know, chunking thing, but it just, I don't know, it seemed a little dated or something. It's like, been there, done it. Where else can we go and kind of, you know, penetrate?
Much at all, due to recording the new album Load. However, they did make one very notable exception when they took time out from the studio to headline their only concert last year, the UK's Donington Monsters of Rock Festival. As a warm-up for that great day, Metallica made further headlines when they took to a club stage at the London Astoria 2 for an impromptu performance, especially for members of the fan club. That's sweet, isn't it?
Basically, we haven't played live for 13 months. And so we come over to do this gig, and we thought maybe it'd be a good idea if we went and had a little rehearsal for a few of our closer friends. So we thought, we've been trying to work really close with the fan club and trying to do a lot of special things for them, and it's been up and running for about a year and a half now, and I think that every time we get a chance to throw something special their way, we do it. So we booked a show at the LA2, and basically you had to be a member of the fan club to get in. So we sold it out, and it was great. It was a lot of fun. Christmas, that will be the fan can, which is basically a kind of a thing that we had for sale a couple years ago, these cans that the record companies did. We're going to do those for the fan club. Special items. They'll get some sneaks from stuff in the studio on the new record that won't be available anywhere else, and stuff like that. So it's just doing a lot of stuff like that, and trying to give them access to a lot of things Metallica are doing first. Just very, very together. Like I said, it's all about how you want to do it. And if you want to keep your feet on the ground and keep in touch with your fans and keep in touch with what's going on around, it's not hard. But just most of the people that end up in situations like us, selling, you know, 30 million records or whatnot, they sort of tend to sort of drift. And it's just like, if you really want, you can do it. And we've been doing it, and, you know, it's going fine.
Well, as that club reel proves, Metallica are a band who really care about their fans. And in 1996, it was indeed members of the fan club who were the first to get a sneak preview of the new album. A 30-minute video documentary of the guys at work in the recording studio appeared in an exclusive fan can, which also contains an hour-long CD of studio outtakes and a limited edition t-shirt. The fan can is only available through the fan club, so if you'd like to be in line for future Metallica rarities, then why not join up now? Write to the Metallica Club, P.O. Box 18327, Knoxville, Tennessee, 37928, 2327, USA.
albums worldwide. The launch of a new rock album shouldn't be done quietly. Metallica are currently touring the UK in this 60-foot Metallica truck, giving fans a chance to exclusively hear new tracks from the album Lord, the first album to be released in 5 years. Can you tell us why you like Metallica?
Why we like Metallica? Well, why do we like Metallica? Because of the greatest heavy metal rock band in the world.
Why did you decide to give the fans a sneak preview of the album?
The idea of playing the record for the fans instead of the typical 200 people from the industry, and they sit and sort of, oh, great record, you know, all this type of stuff. So it's like you cut straight to the chase and play it for the fans instead.
It's just a good way to, like, you know, push the album and set it up so that they know what to expect.
It could be a little uncomfortable sometimes when you're in a crowd of like literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of kids. They're playing the record. It's kind of an odd thing, but
You feel very, very self-conscious.
Yeah, very. Imagine us being self-conscious.
It happens.
So what am I supposed to say? What's happening? We're glad you guys like the album. Trademark Metallica heaviness, but just new, you know, different. They're doing groovier stuff now.
But has the Metallica sound changed as drastically as their haircuts?
Not drastically different sound, but I mean, there are departures here and there.
It's definitely looser. It's more, if I say it's less scooped, you probably won't know what
It's
that
not
is.
as polished
It's
as
just,
the
it's
last
a little
one.
more in your face.
It's much more representative of what we actually are like live.
Not too loud.
Pardon?
Is it not too loud? Sorry? Is it not too loud though?
It's never too loud.
This is the most like a band that Metallica has ever sounded.
How do you keep the momentum going after 14 years?
You're dealing with a bunch of people who know each other that well and have been through the things we've been through.
This is the longest relationship I've ever had with anyone outside my family. This has lasted through numerous relationships. Oh, they're so sweet.
Nielsen.
I've heard that you like football, Lars.
Well, I mean, growing up in Denmark, you don't really have a choice.
How do you think they're going to do in the European Championship?
They'll do fine. Well, you know, we have to defend our honor from 4 years ago.
This is the first single from the new album.
It's called Until It Sleeps, and it's the most blatantly commercial song ever written. No, it's, sorry, Slip.
It's a top song and it will go straight to #1.
It's top.